For centuries, first-time visitors to this chapel glance at the central figure and assume they're looking at a scene from Christ's life. They are wrong, in exactly the way the artist intended them to be wrong. The beard, the raised hand, the calm authority in his face. Every detail was built by a Renaissance master to be mistaken for Jesus. Only when you notice the second figure whispering behind him does the painting reveal you've been looking at his opposite the entire time, and that the mistake was the point. Look at him closely. He stands at the center of the composition, dressed in flowing red robes, his right hand lifted in a gesture you've seen in 100 other paintings. Around him, a crowd has gathered. Nobody looks afraid. Everyone is listening. This is Luca Signorelli's The Sermon and Deeds of the Antichrist, painted between 1499 and 1502 inside the San Brizio Chapel of Orvieto Cathedral in Italy. It's part of a much larger cycle depicting the end of history itself. Signorelli was working at a moment when apocalyptic fear was spreading across Italy. Corrupt church politics, foreign invasions, whispers that the end of the world was near. The chapel's commission called for a vision of the Last Judgment. Signorelli chose to begin that vision not with fire, not with devils, but with a sermon. Now look behind his shoulder. Pressed against his back is a second figure, dark, almost swallowed by the shadow of the robe. His mouth is close enough to touch the preacher's ear. This is Satan, not controlling him, whispering to him. In earlier medieval art, evil usually seizes its victims outright. Here, it only suggests. The Antichrist believes every word he speaks comes from God. None of it does. This is a subtler, more unsettling kind of evil than possession. It doesn't force, it persuades. Notice his right hand again. It's raised in the exact gesture Christ uses in countless altarpieces across Italy. A blessing. Signorelli didn't invent a menacing pose for the Antichrist. He borrowed the most sacred gesture in Christian art and placed it in the wrong hands. But there is more. Turn to the crowd itself. Nobody is restrained. There are no chains, no soldiers, no visible threat anywhere in the scene. They stand calmly, engaged, even convinced. Some historians consider this the fresco's most disturbing detail. The Antichrist doesn't conquer this crowd. He is chosen by it. Look toward the foreground. Figures are receiving objects, coins, valuables, passed from hand to hand. Medieval theology held that the Antichrist would win followers not only through words, but through rewards, political favor, riches, loyalty, purchased rather than earned. Elsewhere in the crowd, small clusters gather around what look like healings. People kneel, others reach out. Scripture predicted the Antichrist would perform convincing but false signs before the true return of Christ. Signorelli paints those signs directly into the scene, easy to miss among everything else happening at once. Now notice the clothing. The Antichrist is dressed richly. So are many in the crowd around him. This wasn't aimed at the poor. It was aimed at merchants, bishops, politicians, the people most likely watching Signorelli's contemporaries in the pews below. Even the educated aren't spared. Look at the men nearby holding books, deep in discussion. Learning is present here too, and it offers no protection. Intelligence, Signorelli suggests, does not guarantee discernment. Which brings us to the upper left corner, where the tone shifts entirely. Bodies lie on the ground. People are being beaten, executed. This is what happens to those who refuse to follow. Notice the order. Persuasion comes first, the sermon, the miracles, the gifts. Violence only appears once loyalty has already been secured. Behind the entire scene rises an enormous classical building, dominating the right half of the composition. Some scholars read it as a version of the rebuilt temple. Others see an idealized Roman structure. Either way, the message is the same. This isn't a lone preacher working in secret. Institutions stand behind him, political power, religious authority, architecture itself lending him legitimacy. And through all of this, notice something easy to overlook entirely. There are no shadows gathering, no storm clouds, no darkness anywhere in the sky. The whole scene unfolds in full daylight. Signorelli refuses the easy shorthand where darkness signals evil. Deception, he insists, can happen in plain sight, dressed exactly like truth. In the lower left corner, two men in black stand apart from the crowd, watching rather than participating. Many historians believe one of them is Signorelli himself. Renaissance artists sometimes inserted their own likeness into sacred scenes, not as followers, but as witnesses. If that identification is correct, the painter placed himself at the very edge of his own warning. Some scholars go further, arguing Signorelli wasn't only illustrating scripture, but commenting on Italy itself. Around 1500, the peninsula was consumed by corrupt church politics, ambitious princes, and widespread fear that the end was approaching. Under that reading, the Antichrist becomes a stand-in for any leader who wraps ambition in the language of salvation. There's no consensus on how literally to take this, but the parallel was hard for Signorelli's contemporaries to miss. Put every detail together, and one idea emerges: the Christ-like face, the borrowed gesture, the calm crowd, the gifts, the false miracles, the grand architecture standing behind him. None of it works by looking evil. All of it works by looking almost exactly like the truth it's replacing. Signorelli isn't arguing that this crowd was foolish for following the Antichrist. He's arguing something harder to accept, that a deception convincing enough to fool an entire crowd would, in the moment, look indistinguishable from something worth believing, which leaves the question Signorelli seems to have left deliberately unanswered. If the imitation is close enough, if the gesture is familiar enough, if the crowd around you is calm enough, how would you know the difference before it was too late? Which detail in this fresco do you think gives the Antichrist away first? And would you have noticed it in time?